Guys, what was that? What the hell was that? The Chicago Bears somehow, some way defeated the Cincinnati Bengals 47-42. The Bears are now 5-3. I I don't even know what to say. I mean, welcome everyone to wrap it up, the official post-game podcast of Second City Gridiron. I'm your host, Jacob Infante. Man, uh, so I don't even know where to start. Typically, I have an idea of what I want to do for these post-game shows, but so much happened in the last like 10, 15 minutes where I don't even know what to say. I don't even know where to start. I guess I guess the best place to start is Caleb Williams. I that's the best place to start in a game that was dominated by a strong run game. And there were some inconsistencies in the passing game. There were some big plays, but Caleb Williams, when it mattered most, stepped through on the final drive. Incompletion, scrambled for a 14-yard gain, and then hit Colston Loveland on the seam for a 58-yard touchdown. And the pass was complete. It was a dart to begin with. The Bears would have been able to hit a field goal off of that, probably, knock on wood. But then Colston Loveland shed the tackle, outran the rest of the defense, picked up the touchdown, and then the Bengals had a chance at a Hail Mary, didn't convert. An injured Joe Flacco couldn't get the job done. Kudos to that Bengals offense, man. Kudos to them. They took advantage of the Bears for a lot of that game. Joe Flacco had 470 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, and the Bengals still lost that game. It's unbelievable. So I'm pulling this up. I have the ESPN, like the recap, well, not the recap, but the box score, so to speak. And they have some of the advanced analytics about win percentage and stuff like that. I'm going to go to the game here, see how it turned out. So at one point, the Bears had a 99.7% chance to win at their peak. And then at one point, the Bengals had an 85.9% chance to win. And then the Bears ended up coming back and winning. So, oh my God. I'm going to take some of your questions here for anybody who's listening live in the Twitter X chat. For anybody who's watching along on the Second City Gridiron pages on Facebook and YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. There's a lot to talk about, guys. So don't mind that. I'm taking a picture of this win probability, this chart that was on ESPN, the one that I just referenced on the show, and I'm going to post it on Twitter here in a sec. But for a second there, for a split second, that felt like an Eberflus level breakdown. Genuinely, like I think from a pure collapse of the defense and the special teams, it was pretty close. If you know what, I'm not even going to say it was close. It was an Eberflus level breakdown from the defense and the special teams. We're going to talk about that, but obviously the Bears just won in the craziest fashion possible. I want to talk about the positives, so I'm going to go start things off with Kyle Monangai, and obviously I'm going to run through some of the questions here in the chat and then answer them. But Kyle Monangai, in his first game as a starting running back in the NFL, came away. They relied on him pretty heavily. 26 carries, 176 rushing yards, 6.8 yards per catch. I mean, that's pretty nuts. And then he had 3 catches for 22 yards as well. This game, for a majority of it, obviously, Caleb Williams came through in the clutch when it mattered most. a majority of this offense was how good the run game was. And Caleb played a part in that too. He had 53 rushing yards, he had 5 carries. I think that one thing that Caleb did better this week is he knew when to take off. He's a very good athlete. He's a good scrambling running back. He can take off and pick up big gains. He just needs to identify when to be able to do that. You know, when he's scrambling, he keeps his head up, which is huge, but sometimes he's a split second too late making the decision, either getting the ball out or choosing to run. I think he did a better job of that this week. And then Monangai was unbelievable. I mean, you talk about a guy who's incredibly tough. You talk about a guy who's got impressive agility. Uh, Genuinely, I think that he's a really good complement to DeAndre Swift right now. Uh, because DeAndre Swift is the type of guy where you have him, he works best in space. He's not a downhill runner. He's more of an outside of the tackles type of guy, more of an, get him outside of space. But Monangai's a very impressive downhill runner. At least he was today against the Bengals. And I mean, I know, oh, it's the Bengals. Uh, but when you run over grown men like that, and when you run over, uh, NFL defenders as easily as Kyle Monangai did, uh, you deserve a lot of credit for that. So genuinely, he looked the part of someone who can play a big role in this offense for the rest of the year. And we saw it the last couple games where, Swift and Monangai kind of split the carries. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. You might even see a little bit more Monangai as the running back one. So we'll see. Uh, let's see. I'm going through the chat here. If anyone has any comments who's watching live, feel free to let me know. For anybody who watches a little bit late or can't stay for the entirety of the show, this is going to be live wherever you get your podcasts as well. Caleb Fan Club, Richard Hightower should not be let back onto the plane. I agree with that. I think it was a banner awful special teams day for the Chicago Bears today. I mean, obviously, they start things off with a kick return for a touchdown. Cairo Santos, he would have had 2 missed field goals, but only had the one. Uh, Daniel Hardy, he was going for a block and didn't realize that the ball was going his way. It tipped off his foot, cost the team an onside kick. The coverage was bad. There was another return that Samaje Perine, I think it was, had that was really good as well. And then Duvernay had a really good return that, of course, was called back. I think it was holding. It was definitely a penalty that called it back. That's all in one game, folks. That's all in one game that the Bears were that bad on special teams. So I think that the fact that they were able to overcome that speaks to how good the offense was, uh, and how just batshit that this game was in general. So yeah, I think that in the in the wake of a victory, obviously things are great, things are happy. It's you can be very happy with how your quarterback stepped up in the clutch. You can be very happy with how your team didn't give up in the most unbelievable, or your offense especially didn't give up in the most unbelievable of scenarios. But you also do have to be a little bit objective and say, like, hey, the special teams was atrocious today. That's a big reason why the Bengals were in this game for as long as they were. That's why they had the lead for, as late in the game as they did. So you have Richard Hightower. I think you got to take a good hard look and say, like, all right, something's not working. What do we do to try and fix it? I mean, I don't think the special teams have been particularly great under him regardless. So, I don't get the sense they're gonna fire him right away. That doesn't strike me as something the Bears do very often. Uh, but yeah, Richard Hightower and his special teams units were a very big problem. But it all worked out. Kyle Davidson's hair gel in the chat here says Loveland has arrived. Fucking tank. So yeah, I mean, so Cole Kmet came back this week, but then he ended up exiting again, getting hurt. He had 1 catch for 10 yards. And so then Colston Loveland came in though, and he took up a majority of the touches. He entered this game. He didn't have a single NFL career touchdown, but he came out of it with 2 scores, 6 receptions, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I know a lot of Colts fans have been talking shit about, oh, Tyler Warren's been better than, excuse me, Colston Loveland, and that's all fine and good, but now you have Colston Loveland arriving on the scene. Uh, and he did that today. So that feels pretty good. I mean, one for that, but just more importantly, to see a rookie tight end step up in the clutch when it mattered most, to be able to break that tackle and be athletic enough to outrun all those defenders chasing him in pursuit. I mean, those are defensive backs that he was outrunning. And I think, that's truly, that's part of why the Bears were so high on him, is just how athletic Loveland is, his ability to stretch the field. Uh, whether it's on the deep crossers, the seams, simple go routes, or his ability to win out of the slot and man-to-man coverage, get him going on in routes, out routes, slants, whatever the case might be. That's why you draft that guy that early. And I think that I hope Cole Kmet's all right. You never want to see injury befall a player by any means. Hopefully he can come back to full strength. But even at that case, I think that Loveland is solidifying himself firmly as the tight end one in this offense. So again, a lot of kudos to Colston Loveland. He came through when it mattered most. We're 5-3, guys, in case you forgot. So there you go. So I do want to talk a little bit about the defense. The run defense was actually very good. Chase Brown only had 37 yards for 11 carries. I was going to say 37 carries. That's like a Monangai stat line. 11 carries for 37 yards. He also had 8 catches for 75 yards. So he was pretty good. He was a pretty good check down option, made some moves after the catch. The run defense was good. The coverage was bad. I think just about anyone could have told you that that was going to be the case even with Tyreek Stevenson coming back. I mean, Kyler Gordon's hurt. Jalen Johnson's out for the year. CJ Gardner-Johnson is, he was just coming into the system. So, I mean, and he performed admirably, I think, all things considered, for somebody who, literally just signed off the street a couple days ago. So, but even then, like, Stevenson didn't seem to be all that great. We'll check and see what the all 22 says. I'm looking forward to breaking that down. By the way, I'll share that here eventually on my Twitter and X page. So you can check my Patreon account, patreon.com/Jacob Infante. I'll be doing breakdowns, scouting reports of 5 players of your guys' choosing, and breaking down the strengths and weaknesses of how they performed. I might either way. I'm curious to see how Stevenson did, because upon first glance, it didn't seem to be all that great. Nick McLeod didn't do very well. Nahshon Wright, I mean, he had that, the interception off the off the Hail Mary, but in coverage pretty consistently, he was a problem and a liability. So I'm curious to see if the Bears do anything in the trade deadline now. If you look at how poorly the secondary performed, where you have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase both surpassing 100 receiving yards. Chase Brown getting 75, Andre Yosivas getting 66, Tanner Hudson 42, Noah Fant 28, Mitchell Tinsley 27. I mean, that's insane. Just giving up 470 passing yards in any capacity is unacceptable. You could put that on Dennis Allen. You absolutely can. I think obviously the hobbled secondary doesn't help at all, but a part of your job as a coach is to make sure that you take advantage of that. Granted, I wouldn't want to be the guy calling. I wouldn't want to be the guy calling defense against T. Higgins and Jamar Chase with this secondary in the state that it's in right now. But I mean, all the power to him. So Jay Cutlets, yes, saying, why are you talking about DA and not Hightower? Hightower is the problem. Yeah, so we did mention that a bit, near the start of the show here. So for those of you who are just tuning in, you can go back and check this on our YouTube channel on Second City Gridiron, as well as wherever you get your podcasts. So maybe if you come in late or something like that, then, you can get all the content that you need to get. All of your glorious Jacob Infante analysis, obviously. But yeah, Hightower is the problem. I think that the lack of understanding the assignments on special teams is it crippled the Bears, and it almost cost them the game. In 99% of scenarios, it would have cost them that game. So I'm with you there. I think that Hightower is the bigger problem than Dennis Allen at this point. I think when you have a healthy unit to work with, Dennis Allen's uh I mean, I think that Dennis Allen is a solid enough defensive coordinator. He's not I don't think he's great, but we saw in flashes what this team can do when more guys are healthy. And the hope is that CJ Gardner Johnson, bringing him in, is going to bring some spark to the secondary. Maybe they trade for a corner, maybe they trade for a defensive end. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. But I think that for all of Allen's flaws right now, you also do have to keep in mind he's working with spare parts essentially. So that's not an easy task, especially against a Bengals offense that's been as good as it's been the last couple of weeks since they brought Joe Flacco in. I mean, that's now that the Bears won that game, I can say I can say without any like angst in my voice that Joe Flacco doing what he did today at 40 years old is insane. I mean, everybody is going to everyone's going to talk about, oh, yeah, Joe Flacco's 40 years old, whatever. Uh, yeah, I mean, I just said that. Everyone says that, but it's very cool at this stage in his career to see him doing what he was doing. I hope he keeps it up, just for the rest of the year. But now that the Bears game's gone, uh, now that the Bears game's gone, and you don't have to face Flacco anymore. Uh, all the power to him. So Almighty Man in the YouTube chat says, "Why waste a draft asset for a 1 year rental cornerback or edge when we aren't Super Bowl contenders?" That's fair. So I think with it's going to be a little bit different. I think a cornerback is for sure more of a 1 year rental than an edge rusher, depending on who you're bringing in. Really, uh, if it's a 1 year cornerback, though, I don't necessarily think that's going to cost a lot. I mean, I could be totally wrong on this, but say a Tariq Woolen and Alante Taylor, I think the fact that they're in the last year, they're in expiring contracts by default, and you're only going to have them for half a season, the the cost isn't going to be insane. And I mean, I think that sure, there's always the case where they're like, oh, well, the Seahawks or the Saints say, hey, maybe what if you want to keep these guys? Then we're not just going to give you for nothing. But I think that the contract situation certainly plays a role in, cutting down the cost for both of those guys specifically, but like anybody. I mean, even Cam Taylor Britt, uh, he had a nice PBU. I don't know. I can't say for sure how he performed, like individually, because I'm not watching Bengals cornerbacks when I'm watching my favorite team play. But uh, there should be some decent 1 year rental options out there that don't necessarily break the bank in terms of draft capital. For an edge rusher, yeah, sure. I mean, you're probably going to be spending a little bit more on those. Uh, like say a Jalen Phillips. I mean, if you're trading for a guy like Jalen Phillips, or you're trading for a guy like, I mean, I don't think the Bengals are gonna trade away Trey Hendrickson. But if you do that, uh, you're probably bringing them in for the long haul if you're the Bears, because I mean, like you said, they're not Super Bowl contenders right now. This is to get them into the playoffs, and then potentially you extend whichever edge rusher you bring in, and then cornerback you probably just let walk, honestly, in free agency, and then maybe get a comp pick back. I don't know, but I don't think that if you trade for a cornerback, I don't think that that's wasting a draft asset. I think that's still making a push for the playoffs in a very competitive NFC North. I mean, those games are going to be really difficult, and they're going to test the Bears. But I think the fact now you're sitting at 5-3, you have a couple more, like in theory, winnable games on your schedule. And as we're seeing on a weekly basis here, anything can happen in the NFL. I mean, the Packers lost to the Panthers, for Christ's sake. The Lions lost to the Vikings. The Vikings have been hit or miss this season. I mean, those are all good teams, I believe. Uh, but anything can happen, truly. So yes, the Bears are 5-3. I saw a comment in here say against a weak schedule, the Bears are 5-3 against a pretty weak schedule for the most part. But I mean, they played Minnesota close. I think the Bears are a better team now than they were then. Uh, I mean, Detroit, they got demolished. There's no other way around it. And the Ravens were the better team last week. But say if you stack up the Giants, you stack up the Browns, that's 7 wins. Then you have Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Philly, Green Bay, San Francisco, Detroit. So that's 8 games. I'm counting with my hands because I'm a child. Uh, but if you win, so assuming if you do beat the Giants and the Cleveland Browns, then you're at 7 wins. If you win even 2 of these 8 games, which I'm holding up my fingers again because I'm a little boy who needs to figure out that to learn how to count, that's 9 wins. If you go 3-8, or no, if you go 3-5 in the rest of those games that I mentioned, you're making the playoffs at 10-7 for sure. Uh, that's just my opinion. So Derek in the chat says overall grade on Ben's play calling today after the criticisms from last week. I think it was better. I definitely think it was better. I'm going to sit here and say that obviously the Bears, like the passing attack, it was a little bit hit or miss in the first half. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Caleb showed up when it mattered most. That's the most important thing I want to take away from this, and that's why I'm optimistic about him coming out of this game, or why I think that the arrow is trending upward. But I think that Ben Johnson called a really good game. I mean, obviously people are going to point to the flashy plays. They're going to point to the trick plays. I can't lie and say that I thought the running the Philly special was cool. I know. It's Dowell Loggins play first, whatever. Dowell Loggins is like fat. I don't know. Says me, but it's the Philly special. That's what it is because that was called in a Super Bowl. That's what it's most famous for. So I don't want to hear it, but that play was pretty sweet. The Caleb to Tyson Bagent back to Caleb double pass was pretty cool as well. I like the creativity, and especially against a defense like this, it worked for sure. Uh, on a week to week basis, we'll see if that continues to, if those trick plays continue to provide fruitful results. I think they can continue to do so. The overall grade, I'd give it like a B plus, maybe an A minus for Ben Johnson. And I think a lot of that comes down to he realized what the hot hand was. And the hot hand was Kyle Monangai. You ride the hot hand 100% of the time. Well, not 100, but like you get what I mean. In that he sensed a weakness in the Bengals defense. He exploited it completely. The Bears were the better team in the trenches. When the Bears were on offense, they were a much better team. Uh, I'm looking forward to, again, like I said, going back to the all 22 and figuring out individual offensive linemen to watch. Uh, because as a unit, there were pretty consistently some open holes for Caleb Williams to work with, for Britton Brown to work with, who had a touchdown. So shout out to him. And I think even Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, Kmet before he got hurt, but I think even they brought some good effort as run blockers as well. So being able to ride the hot hand when it mattered most, I think was, or being able to ride the hot hand through the majority of the game was a good call. And then executing when it mattered most with the passing attack, I think was really, really impressive. And I think that Ben Johnson's ability to get the offense rallied around and motivated, I guess, and to be like, all right, this is still a winnable game. I know that our defense and special teams just collapsed in comical fashion. Comical, Jesus. I'm not that smart, guys. I'm over here making up words and shit. I'm just a moron. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. Ben Johnson called a good game. He called a good game. That's all I'm going to say on that regard. Hallis Beer Hall coming in, friends of me. Should the Bears fire Richard Hightower? Yes, I don't think they will right away. I think at the end of the year, though, he's toast. I mean, he better be. It was terrible, genuinely. But he also, Hallis Beer Hall also says, is Moody our kicker moving forward? The answer is yes, he should be. I mean, when you have a kicker, he would have missed 2 times today if it wasn't for the one penalty that got held, that got that called the miss back. that would have been 2 misses for Cairo Santos, and I think that if you're missing 2 field goals in a game, that's just unacceptable. And another thing too is the kickoffs just didn't have they weren't very deep, and I think that, uh, that clearly played a role in it too, where you're giving these returners, a good amount of space to work with, ahead of them. And if he's not generating distance on the kickoffs and he's not hitting his field goals from not even just in the 50s range, but in the 40s range now, then what the hell are we doing? Why are we still sticking around with that? I think that I don't know honestly if this Bears team is going to be willing to admit a mistake like that. That doesn't strike me as Ryan Poles' vibe. He strikes me as someone who's very he's got a little bit of an ego, I'd say, but I think that if you want to be a competent franchise and you again ride the hot hand or just ignore the shoot sorry guys my cat tried to jump onto my ledge here in my apartment and he just totally missed. He was hanging on for dear life and then just flopped on the ground. You guys should have seen it. It was hilarious. But I mean, it's clear right now that, in the 2 games at least that Moody had, he has a better leg. And even with the 49ers where he was, very inconsistent, it's clear Moody has a better leg than Cairo Santos. And I think that that's where the league is trending towards right now. They're trending towards distance above, just the consistent short range accuracy in the 40s. Because if you're in like a 4th and 2 or 4th and 3 situation, these days you're probably going for it. And I think that having a big legged kicker is so much more valuable because it offers up so many more opportunities uh, when you're in the 30s or in around like the 30-yard line or close to the 40-yard line, something like that. That's where having a kicker with a strong leg can really come in handy, and it opens up more opportunities for your offense. You're not locked into, okay, we have to go for it here or we have to punt. Be like, okay, we can trust our kicker with a field goal here because he's got a big enough leg to work with it. So yeah, I'd go with Moody 100%. Whether or not the Bears do, I mean, I no idea. So as Mike Teeling says in the chat as well, I hope so. I'm hoping that he will work out like Daniel Carlson did for the Raiders. I think that would be definitely be ideal because it's kind of a similar situation, honestly. Like Carlson was a big leg kicker coming out of Auburn, uh, and I think it was the Vikings. He ended up, excuse me, it was the Vikings he ended up with initially, and he had accuracy issues. They let him go, and the Raiders brought him in, betting on the upside, and it worked out for him. I think that the Bears could find themselves in a similar situation with Jake Moody, where you have a big leg kicker who's a little bit, hit or miss in terms of the accuracy. I'm gonna sit here and say I'm not a special teams coach, but in having conversations with special teams coaches, I think that it's easier to teach mechanics and mindset than it is to teach just a massive leg. It's kind of like the quarterback situation with arm strength. That's why these raw quarterbacks with big arms get drafted early above, some of these game manager types. That's why, you see like I don't know, like a Trace McSorley or something. He was a better like Trace McSorley maybe was a more prominent, more efficient college quarterback than Josh Allen, but Josh Allen went way higher because of the upside, because of the superior size, superior arm strength, superior athleticism. He kept all of that and he learned the intricacies of the game. So that's why people bet on upside. Different position, obviously, talking about kicker here, but uh, Jake Moody, I think, has significantly more upside than Cairo Santos. Like Santos, you know what he is at this point, and I can't sit here and say that he's an asset to the Bears right now. So another question in the chat, how do you see the backfield shaping out with Swift back 50-50? I mean, yeah. Yeah, honestly, I think it's going to be probably more of like a 50-50 sort of situation. DeAndre Swift, I think, is too talented to not involve in the offense in some capacity. Obviously, I think the last couple weeks have shown that, and some of the history as well that he's displayed, through other teams too. I think the Bears have a really good opportunity to I know it's a little cliche to mention the Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery shit, uh, but I think that Ben Johnson can very clearly make things work with a split backfield. So uh, you have two running backs with different styles of running. I think can keep the defense on their toes. So what DeAndre Swift does exactly that. He's a different type of running back from Monangai. And I think that his value comes in the ability to catch. It's like throwing an off-speed pitch in baseball. I mean, you have your fastball. You run up the middle. You get your tough yards. You run out. You lower the shoulder. Uh, whatever the hell, and then eventually you catch him off speed with more of like a change of pace sort of back. I think that's where DeAndre Swift is best suited. And I think we'll see a little bit more of that once he comes back because Monangai coming off of today was way too good to just settle into a regular backup role. And I think he looked the part of what he looked like at Rutgers. Honestly, you saw the shiftiness, you saw the ball carrier vision, you saw the tenacity, and I think like the only real, I mean the two big knocks I'd say on Monangai coming out were breakaway speed wasn't amazing, and he was a little undersized. But he runs a lot tougher than someone his size should be. I think he's like 5'9" or so. Uh, and who really needs, I mean, breakaway speed, sure, you can limit your upside if you don't have great speed in the open field. But if you have the burst, the short area acceleration to hit the hole and to find the open running lane, and you can consistently pick up 10, 15 yards on, a handful of these carries a game, then who cares if you don't if you don't get like a 40-yard pickup or something like that. So uh let's see. I'm checking my phone here. There's some stuff. I just need to make sure that's going all right. So anyway, uh yeah, all that to say, I think that Swift is going to rotate into the system for sure. He's going to. I mean, I think he'll be the de facto, like the starter in name. But I mean, Monangai was tremendous today. I feel like you can't just ignore that, and he was good in the first couple weeks as well. So uh, I think close to 50-50 is what you're going to see from there. Logan King in the chat says, Jacob, thoughts on the continuing struggles of dropping passes? I think in particular, you see it with Roma Dunze maybe a little bit too much. Obviously, he didn't have a single catch today, which is it's crazy to think about. If you told me going into this, the Bears would put up 47 points and Roma Dunze would not have a single catch all game, I would have thought you were like crazy or high. But I think it's an issue. It obviously is. And Odunze has looked very good this year. I'd have to check the tape to see what was the problem. Was it a separation issue? Was it an effort issue? Like what was it exactly that held him to, literally zero catches, but also the drops as well played a factor into that, obviously. So Odunze, I think a lot of Bears fans can agree he has legitimate wide receiver one potential, right? And the only thing that's holding him back at this point is the drop situation. And it's crazy to me because he's a big wide receiver. He's a physical receiver. He can win. He's shown in college, and he showed a little bit as a rookie as well. He can win in the contested catch situations, but uh, for whatever reason this year, it's not necessarily working. And you have these instances where he's body catching. You have these instances where he's bobbling catches a little bit. Uh, it's not a great look for somebody who's supposed to be the wide receiver one. I mean, obviously, it works out. That's why you have so many talented weapons on your roster. If one guy doesn't have a great game, who cares? Colston Loveland had a fantastic game. DJ Moore made a couple nice catches. Olamide Zaccheaus had 58 yards and a touchdown today. But yeah, still, it's something to be concerned about a little bit. I know Komet had a drop near the beginning of the game earlier as well. So I have some concern about it, but I can't sit here and say that I'm too concerned about the offense when they just put up 47 points. So uh, I'll put it at that for now. But uh, good point here from Grim Cuddy in the chat saying that the raw completion percentage looks bad, but his adjusted completion percentage was over 70%. Yeah, and I think that's a good point too. And as he mentions as well, lots of throwaways and drops. That was a reoccurring theme that I noticed as well. Is you have a handful of times where Caleb, he's scrambling, he's running for his life. I don't think it's so much, at least on first glance, I don't think it was so much the offensive line's problem. I mean, he got sacked 2 times, but I don't think that the Bengals pass rush was particularly great today. Uh, I just think that a lot of it came down to a lack of it was one of two things, which I think both can be true in on different plays. I think that the separation wasn't consistent, at least from what I was able to see. The separation wasn't consistent, and there were some times where Caleb did miss some open guys, especially in the first half. I know everyone who was watching the game heard Adam Archuleta bitch and complain about, oh, he should have hit Durham Smythe on the flat or whatever. It's like he hit DJ Moore for a first down anyway. Who cares? But I mean, there were some valid criticisms, I think, about some of the missing open guys. I don't think it was so much that he threw the ball into shitty situations. I just think that maybe he froze up and didn't see the open guy, or he didn't hit the check down necessarily. So that's part of why the whole time to throw situation, I think, is it's not off of, oh, his receivers are always getting open. He's just, he's got the perfect situation. He's just bad. I don't think that's the case when you see like a high time to throw. Like I'm assuming Caleb would have from this game, and he had, he's at a high time to throw this year, high time to throw last year. I don't think that's all just saying, oh, the offensive line is always great or the receivers are always great. I think just naturally Caleb likes to extend the play. He's comfortable when he scrambles and gets outside of the pocket. Uh, Maybe gets to improvise a little bit, but even still, I think that, there are a lot of throwaways, a handful of drops as well, but the throwaways, I think it's just guys didn't get open. And I think either that or there was another guy open and Caleb didn't see him, and the other players around him didn't create separation, and then he just had to throw it away. And that's what I think it was. We'll have to see. Uh, Obviously, it worked out well. I mean, he stepped through and it mattered most. 20 completions for Caleb Williams on 32 or 34 passing attempts, 280 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Also had 53 rushing yards on 5 carries, and also had 2 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown. So there you go. Uh, Completion percentage 58.8. Again, a lot of that does come down to throwaways. I can't say that's as much on inaccuracy. That's just, the play didn't work out. So I'm excited to go back and check the tape to see exactly what went wrong and then what went right, because I don't want to sit here and say that, oh, Caleb had a bad game. He did not have a bad game. I mean, obviously, whenever you have a game winning touchdown, that's a pretty good game. And when you throw a clean game with 4 total touchdowns, uh, I'd have to do the math, but it's over 350 total yards from scrimmage when you factor in the rushing and the receiving. Uh, it's a pretty dang good day in the stat book for sure. And I keep saying I think that there's still a lot of room for Caleb to grow. And I think that's what's most exciting is you can tell that this offense is good. This is a very good offense. Ben Johnson is a very good offensive coach. And it makes me wonder if Caleb can clean up the accuracy a little bit, if Rome can, cut down on drops, if they can find out a way to, implement Luther Burden a little bit more in the offense, just how good this team can be. And now the running game's hitting its stride. Monangai had an incredible game. Swift was really good before he got hurt. There's a lot to be excited about. So that is going to actually, I have one last question I'm going to bring in. My father, Steve Infante, in the chat saying, "Are you still up for cacio e pepe risotto tonight?" The answer is yes, of course. As soon as I hop off of this, I'm gonna head over. So, by the way, guys, I just moved into the city, into Chicago. So, I tweeted about it a while back that I was leaving St. Louis. Now I'm in Chicago. Now I'm moved into my place. It's mostly moved in. I got to hang some stuff up still, but still doing all right. Uh, and my dad lives in the city as well, so going over for dinner, and we're gonna have a little fun tonight. Gonna celebrate to enjoy this Bears win. So I know I was a little late bringing in the Jacob Infante happy ending. Sorry, I got so nervous. You're so pretty and everything, and it's my first time, but basically everything I said it counts as the final optimistic segment. I mean, I think that the fact that Bears won this game is unbelievable. Uh, when you consider that the defense and special teams were almost actively trying to blow the game. The offense stepped through when it mattered most. I'm already fully sold on Ben Johnson. I'll say that. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think that with his uh, what he's shown with the Bears is pretty damn close to what he was able to accomplish with the Lions, and having those multiple years now of high level offensive play calling and seeing that translate to now into a head coaching role. I'm very confident in him. I'm confident in the direction of the franchise with him at the helm. And I think that again, I like to when I look at Caleb Williams here, I consider it from a week to week perspective. Maybe the last couple weeks have been, a little bit trending down. I'd say the Ravens game trended down. This game did trend up though, and I think that that's very encouraging. So kudos to him. Kudos to Colston Loveland. Kudos to Ben Johnson. I mean, there's a lot to be excited about in Chicago right now. I don't know how they did it. It was like pulling teeth near the end there. I mean, it was, all the Eberflus flashbacks all into one as the defense failed, the special teams failed, but the offense pulled away. The Bears are 5-3, and I keep saying every single time I do one of these, damn near, uh, the more that you win out of the division, the better your chances are of making the playoffs because those divisional games are going to be really tough. I don't know if the Bears are going to be able to even reach 500 in those games. Maybe they can. I mean, it's definitely possible, but the more wins you stack up, the more margin of error you have in the NFC North. You don't even have to go 500 in the NFC North if you win a game like this. If you beat the Giants, if you beat the Browns, or, maybe if you could pull something off against the Steelers or 49ers or maybe even the Eagles, who knows? But that's going to do it for this stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and celebrating with yours truly. We got up to over 8,000 live followers or live viewers for the show, so I appreciate it. If there's anything you missed you want to watch back, feel free to check it out anywhere that you watch your podcasts or listen to your podcasts. You don't watch podcasts. What the hell am I talking about? But anywhere you listen to your podcasts, Second City Gridiron is there. That's where you'll find my Wrap It Up show every single week. And then you'll also see it live on the Facebook page and the YouTube page for Second City Gridiron, as well as my Twitter page and my X page. So, quick shout out. My aunt just got here. So I want to give a quick shout out to that. Let her know that I see that and I say hi. Uh, I need to make my way back over there. I mean, I'll be there for Thanksgiving for sure. So, but now that I'm in the city, I also need to make a nice trip over and check out on the wine. So, uh, by the way, so my aunt and uncle have been they're homemade winemakers. So maybe I'll do like some sort of sponsorship episode where I plug their maybe I'll plug your there you go. Maybe I'll plug the wine. If you give me a bottle, I'll then I'll plug it on my next show. So uh that'll do it though. Thanks again to everyone for tuning in. I've been Jacob Infante. This has been Wrap It Up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. The Chicago Bears are 5-3, 47-42 win over the Cincinnati Bengals. The craziest thing I've ever seen. And my aunt just told me that she's going to give me a full case. So a full case of wine instead of just the bottle. So uh, I'm sitting pretty right now. Things are pretty good. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Great win for the Bears. Tune in next week for more updates and more instant recaps on all things Chicago Bears. Until then, I've been Jacob Infante. bear down.